Well, you can I always forget it's the other way.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, but then you get that, hello, everyone. You get that weird
It's beautiful.
writing.
It's like, yeah.
I know. Yeah, no, but we see this, though. That's okay. Ignore the writing on this side, unless you wish. No, well, it's because a class must be here learning important things before
They have
us.
a lot of training,
Um,
trains here.
Oh, the EMS trains
It's
here.
octopus today.
Oh, let's see. I'm going to do a quick test. Oh, you can kind of see. Okay. That was just a test. We'll start in a minute.
We're starting at 10.
Thanks for my. Okay, good. Okay, I'm sitting up straight and we're going to begin. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Tibet Center, Kunchab Tarduling, a Buddhist meditation and study center located in New York City and northern New Jersey, under the direction of His Eminence Ling Rinpoche, and also under the direction of Rato Kensor Rinpoche, or Geshe Nikki Vreeland. This is our twice-weekly presentation of the Buddha Dharma. Specifically, this is a talk series entitled Dharamsala Through the Eyes of a Western Nun. All the prayers we say are on the website under the FAQ section. Scroll down to prayers. If there's a problem with sound or anything else, please let Darren or Tony know. And if there's anyone you wish us to pray for at the end, please put their names in the chat box. And now we'll start with the prayers. First, we'll start with the prayer for the spreading of the teachings throughout the length and breadth of the West. By the force, the blessings of the non-fallacious three precious gems, and of the truth of our pure selfless wishes, may the precious Buddhist teachings flourish and spread to the expanse of all areas throughout the length and breadth of the breast. For all the people living there, together with our near ones, who have engaged in the teachings and have faith and respect for them, may all conditions adverse to their practice of the pure Dharma be dispelled, and an excellent collection of favorable conditions increase like the waxing moon. And especially for those who work on methods to accomplishing the flourishing and spreading of the victorious one's teachings, which are the source of benefit and happiness, may they never be oppressed by masses of interference and adverse conditions, and may this spontaneously happen just as we have hoped and wished. And now for the Heart Sutra. Thus have I heard once. The Blessed One was dwelling in the royal domain of the Vulture Peak Mountain, together with a big gathering of great monks and great bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One entered the Samadhi, which examines the Dharmas called profound illumination. And at the same time, noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, looking at the profound practice of transcendent knowledge, saw the five skandhas and their natural emptiness. Then, through the inspiration of the Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to Avalokiteshvara, how should those noble ones learn who wish to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge? And Avalokiteshvara answered, Venerable Shariputra, whoever wishes to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge should look at it like this, seeing the five skandhas in their natural emptiness. Form is empty, emptiness itself is form. Emptiness is not separate from form. Form is not separate from emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discriminating awareness, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Thus, all the dharmas are empty and have no characteristics. They are unborn and unceasing. They are not impure, pure. They neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, since there is emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no discriminating awareness, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no appearance, no sound, no smell, no taste, no sensation, no objects of mind, no quality of sight, no quality of hearing, no quality of smelling, no quality of tasting, no quality of sensing, no quality of thought, no quality of mind consciousness. There are no nidandas from ignorance to old age and death, nor their wearing out. There is no suffering, no cause of suffering, no ending of suffering, and no path, no wisdom, no attainment, and no non-attainment. Therefore, since there is no attainment, the bodhisattvas abide by means of transcendent knowledge, and since there is no obscurity of mind, they have no fear. They transcend falsity and pass beyond the bounds of sorrow. All the Buddhas who dwell in the past, present, and future, by means of transcendent knowledge, fully and clearly awaken to unsurpassed complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of transcendent knowledge, the mantra of deep insight, the unsurpassed mantra, the unequaled mantra, the mantra which came with all suffering, should be known as truth, for it is in the no deception. In transcendent knowledge, the mantras proclaim. Tai ta om gate para sam gate bodhi soha. O Shariputra, this is how a bodhisattva mahasattva should learn profound transcendent knowledge. Then the Blessed One arose from that samadhi and praised the bodhisattva mahasattva Avalokiteshvara, saying, Good, a son of noble family. Profound transcendent knowledge should be practiced just as you are taught, and the Tathagatas will rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, Shariputra and Avalokiteshvara, that whole gathering with his gods, humans, Asuras, and Gandharvas, their hearts full of joy, praised the words of the Blessed One. And now we'll repeat the bodhicitta and refuge prayer to set a good motivation. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain, to dispel the miseries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I join the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain, to dispel the miseries of the world. With a wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain, to dispel the miseries of the world. And thank you for joining. So just a quick recap from last time. I had started leaving cat food out for our local tomcat and a few other cats. One of the tomcat's favorite hobbies is to spray the area and mark his territory. And once he sprayed my neighbor's umbrella, which was drying outside, which I was then blamed for. Look what your cat did, kind of thing. I tried not to attack back and kept in mind various vows and verses, such as the 5th verse of the 8 verses of mind training, with its pith instruction being, accept such loss as being blamed without trying to defend yourself. What made this easier to put into practice was that the lightness of the event. oops, sorry. If it had been something that was actually catastrophic, get it? Catastrophic? All kidding aside. It's good to start with small irritations, and then you're able to build up and be able to apply it to some heavier events. Anyway, I apologized to my neighbor to keep the peace and took responsibility for the cat's behavior without any words of rebuke. Well done, me. Yay! It's not like I groveled or became sickly sweet towards them or was incredibly sarcastic, as my English sense of humor usually would be. Oh, you're so right and so wonderful. I am such an irresponsible idiot. Please blame me and let me wash your umbrella with my toothbrush. Instead, I just quickly apologized. I think some people think that becoming a Buddhist means that you have to behave like a doormat. That's where wisdom comes in. Wisdom stops you from being a doormat or feeling the need to be super nice to everyone. Of course, if you want to be super nice, that's fine. It just has to come from the heart. Basic common sense needs to be applied with strength, courage, and confidence. If someone who treats you badly, makes fun of you, or disrespects you all the time, if they ask you to come over and clean their kitchen, don't feel you have to go. Just decline in a nice way. At some of my jobs, I often heard the phrase, nice people don't finish first, especially when it comes to getting promotions. In one of my interviews, the person said, I wouldn't survive at their company as I would be eaten alive. I assumed by the piranhas that were already working there. It was as if having a ruthless, cutthroat, cloak and dagger work environment was something to actually be proud of. I am just not sure how happy those piranhas really were, and if they could look at themselves in the mirror with the pride that comes from acting with a good conscience and doing the decent thing. When they took their kids to see Star Wars, Harry Potter, or The Lord of the Rings, I'm sure they were cheering for the good guys. Nice people might not finish first in business or even in war, but deep down, most people wish they did. Otherwise, those movies would not be blockbusters. And why is that? At our core, we all have Buddha nature, an innate goodness that is hidden by all our hurt, fear, and insecurity. The good news is, nice wins in the end. It shines through. It didn't take long for my neighbors to start liking the cat and feeding him also. We ended up feeding the stray cats for several months. But it ended one day when I saw a different animal outside my door eating the cat food. It looked kind of like a huge rat/weasel with no, wait, no guessing. Someone guessed it was a possum, so we have to, wait. So it looked like a rat weasel with long hair, a fluffy tail, pointy nose, and red eyes. I quickly found out it was a mongoose. In fact, there were two mongooses. First, a little smaller one, and then another bigger one came along. Obviously, a parent-child thing. And yes, I looked it up. It's mongooses and not mongoose or mongooses. Mongooses are known for killing snakes and especially famous for killing cobras. Luckily, there aren't many snakes where I live due to the altitude. So they mostly eat small animals, including small kittens and puppies. They have sharp teeth and they like to fight. One of my nun friends said that mongooses are very auspicious animals. Sometimes you see Guru Rinpoche or different deities holding them with jewels coming out of their mouths, symbolizing prosperity. All of that sounded wonderful, but then I saw one starting to prepare to fight with a small, scrawny cat. And that was that. I took the big flashing diner sound down, and now I just feed the cat when I see him and he comes to the door. No more 24-hour drive-through cat food. I felt bad about doing it, as some of the more quiet, timid cats that just came at night would no longer get fed. The regular tomcat let you know when he was waiting for food, but the others were too scared of people to make any sounds. But sometimes you have to draw the line. We are living in samsara after all. In conventional reality, we have to expect that there will be lots of unethical behavior. Of course, I could also say that about the cats eating the mice and the birds. Oh, hold on. I was taught to be an ethical person because it was the right thing to do. As the writer and philosopher Aldo Leopold said, ethical behavior is doing the right thing when no one else is watching, even when doing the wrong thing is legal. My mother was the first one to teach me this with the help of the golden rule. Do unto others as you would want them have done to you. When I was a baby, I used to pull her hair a lot. Then one day she pulled mine, and then I stopped. It's a shame that principle was lost on the piranhas at that job I didn't get, or even on the boys on my block who spent most of my teenage summers blowing up frogs by the local pond. The last book I read before I went back to Buddhism was Dostoevsky's, I can never say that right, Crime and Punishment. At the beginning of the book, the main character planned and committed a gruesome, violent murder, which very quickly mentally destroys him. He spends more or less the rest of the book completely paranoid and nearly commits suicide. The only thing that redeems him in the end is ethics inspired by love. Yes, this is fiction, but I felt it was befitting that it was the last non-Dharma book I've read. For those who don't abide by the law or ethics, there is no safety net. Once ethics are lost, nihilism takes over and destroys human dignity. Then there are no bounds to the depravity of human behavior. It's a shame that being mean is considered cool, probably as people confuse it with being tough. Anyone can act out their personal issues, taking them out on others. Toughness and strength come from doing the right thing, even if it's not popular and doesn't get you positive attention. Being a good and ethical person might sound boring, but while I was still working and no longer was just new to the path, being a good person actually became enough for me. Of course, you have to keep this to yourself. I can just imagine all the failed interviews answering the question, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Oh, I hope to be a good and ethical person. Nah. Next. Part of me wanted to feel close to and like those piranhas and those whose ethics had gone into the sewer, but I was far away from that. One day, I met someone in the local cafeteria who reminded me of that type of person. Someone who was trying to aggressively mentally manipulate me into doing something I didn't want to do, as it was against my vows. It really pissed me off. I didn't it didn't help that it brought up and reminded me of all the previous times that I had been on the wrong end of someone else's unethical behavior, such as being deceived, backstabbed, and disrespected. I was quite upset by the whole event, so much so that I sulked and withdrew into myself the next day. I was partly upset as the event made me feel very distant from that person and from those that I had felt harmed me in the past. I've never enjoyed not liking anyone. I'm sure that no one actually does, really. I also felt like I had broken the vow of abandoning love for a sentient being. The next day was a long life puja for His Holiness the Dalai Lama. I still attended, but I didn't sit in my usual place, sitting with the monks and nuns upstairs in that cute room next to where His Holiness teaches. Instead, I sulked downstairs and sat on a bench with some tourists. Near the end of the puja, it hit me, prayer. Prayer was the answer. When you pray for people, you automatically feel connected to them in a positive and beneficial way. And with that thought, I no longer felt that I had lost love. I was unaccustomed, I'm unaccustomed being thirsty. I was unaccustomed to prayer. It didn't seem very natural to me. I had stopped going to church in my early adolescence, except for a short burst after 9/11. I knew the Lord's Prayer, but that was it. I remember saying the Lord's Prayer when things were getting really bad at one of my jobs and asking for help. But that is not done in Buddhism. In Buddhism, there is no creator God that grants requests or wishes. Buddhism is a non-theistic, I can't say that right either, religion. The emphasis is on being completely responsible for oneself. As Alex Berzin says, if we don't wish to experience problems and sufferings, then we need to avoid their causes. If we wish to experience happiness, we ourselves need to create the causes of happiness. From the Buddhist point of view, we can achieve this by following pure morality and ethics. It is entirely up to us to change our behavior and attitudes and to create the life we want. We briefly discussed this earlier, being one of the 15 slogans of the 8 points of mind training. Don't transfer the load to others, or don't transfer the ox's load to the cow, i.e., take responsibility for yourself. I liked this as it gave me pause from automatically and completely blaming others when problems cropped up. Of course, it was hard to stop blaming others completely, as I was so habituated to doing that, but at least it lessened and delayed my usual lazy response. With blaming the outside world for my issues, I naturally looked to the outside world for a resolution to my issues. As I had done this for so long, it was hard to stop right away. Looking outside for help was kind of like my way of asking for love and warmth. The love and warmth that comes from the idea that someone cares for you, that someone is on your side and is trying to help you. Luckily, the Buddhist idea of blessings really fit the bill. One teacher mentioned that the word blessings in Tibetan is chinlap, which literally means transforming into magnificent potential. Put another way, blessings give us strength, power, and energy to change. If the person was able to transform by improving or adding good qualities and or lessening or removing bad ones, then that person had successfully received the blessings. Of course, other religions also use prayer as part of their worship. It acts as a means to strengthen faith. In Buddhism, it allows the practitioner to think of the good, beneficial qualities of the three jewels and to aspire to those qualities. Most prayers seem to be written for the benefit of the person who is praying in order to get them to be accustomed and familiar with helpful qualities such as generosity, love, compassion, humility, ethical discipline, and patience. Prayers are also said to help calm the mind from the outside distractions of our everyday life. By reacquainting our minds with positive qualities and thoughts, our minds become more focused. Saying prayers helps set the tone of what we do next in our day and can also switch our focus if our day has set us off the path. When I still worked, I did prayers in the morning and also when I got home to mentally disengage from the events of my usual stressful days. The one in the evening helped me regain my life instead of just mentally regurgitating the events of the day for the rest of the night. As a nun, I still do prayers in the morning and the evening. The morning is just such a nice time as you and the world are so fresh. And in the evening, it allows me to calm down and be thankful for my day. Recently, 2 events happened that allowed my faith in prayer to grow. I was staying at a Buddhist center and met a Westerner who translated Tibetan Dharma books. He told me about a story about his father-in-law who enjoyed fishing. He wanted him to stop fishing as it's considered non-virtuous to kill any life. So he said a prayer for him to stop. Later that day, when his father-in-law was in the fishing boat, a huge white fish started circling around the boat. The experience was so frightening that he actually stopped fishing for at least 2 years. His prayer had worked, but I guess the prayer didn't include the words, "Stop fishing forever." Another time, I was walking around the Library of Tibetan Works and Archives where I go to school. I was circumambulating. Circumambulating is a walking clockwise around a sacred site or a building that contains one or many sacred objects, such as a Buddhist statue or statues. It is a form of devotion and respect. Many combine it with mantra recitation, which also helps calm the mind. The site doesn't have to be an actual Buddhist site. It can be done around the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City, as it has so many paintings and statues of Buddhas. Anyway, there was a cat stuck in a tree that no one could get to around the building. It remained frozen and yowling until one of the school translators said a prayer out loud to the cat and told it to use its claws and not be scared and to climb down the tree. And it actually did take a few steps. Each time the translator walked around the building, she shouted for it to use its claws and the cat would start to climb further down. When she walked around the building for the 3rd time, the cat had actually climbed all the way down. I was awestruck. The timing of the cat climbing down and the verbal prayer was too exact to be a coincidence. Prayer is also one of the 5 forces that we mentioned in a previous class, which Alec Berzin's Buddhism website has a very good description of. This refers to aspirational prayers. The fifth force is the fourth of prayer. At the end of our meditation session and at the end of the day, we pray, may I never be separated from the two bodhicittas. As an example of this, Kadam Geshe Ben Gungyal used to have a collection of white and black stones. But before I go on, I have a personal note. Instead of using white stones for good, I will use stones with a painted plus mark sign. And instead of black stones, I will use a stone with a minus sign painted on them. You see, one of my Dharma friends takes great offense to using black and white to represent good and bad. So we will use math plus and minus signs instead. Anyway, Geshe Ben used to put aside a stone with a plus mark every time he had a positive thought or did a positive action during the day, and a stone with a minus sign every time he did a selfish act or thought in a negative, selfish way. At the end of the day, he would tally them up and see how he had done. If there were more minus sign stones, he would resolve to try to do better. And if there were more positive stones, he would congratulate himself, although not in a prideful way. Then he would pray that he would be able to improve more and more every day. Alex Berzin continues, when we ask our spiritual teachers to pray for us, it's not proper to ask for selfish or personal things. May I have no sickness. May my business do well. And my favorite, may my daughter find a good husband. Instead, it's best to ask our teachers to pray that we're able to develop bodhicitta as quickly as possible. So I prayed for the man in the cafeteria who had upset me, the people who were proud of being piranhas, and the boys that blew up frogs. May they quickly find and follow the Dharma path and become enlightened. I also prayed for the local stray cats that would no longer get fed, along with the mongooses. As for drawing the line at the mongooses, I think the rest of the people in my building were actually very relieved. A lot of them had to pass by my apartment to get to my neighbors for their medical student study group. I think the thought of having to check for mongooses before they walked by my apartment was a bit too much. As I always had people walking by my apartment, as well as being too close to the Nichiren Oracle's house, I always kept my curtains closed just about all the time. As I had nothing in my windowsill, with the curtains closed, it looked like no one lived there. We get a lot of people coming looking for apartments, and a few have assumed my apartment was available. I had to say, no, I live there. Anyway, everyone else in their building uses their windowsills for storage or whatever else. I didn't bring much stuff with me to India, so I didn't need the space. Having few belongings actually became a point of pride with me. Oh, I must be a real renunciate if I don't have lots of stuff. Ooh, look at me with nothing in my windowsill while everyone else has lots of stuff there. I even had a dream about not having a lot of stuff and how bare my apartment was. Ooh, my subtle subconsciousness must also understand renunciation deeply. If I dreamed about it, what a good practitioner I must be. Luckily, someone came along and inadvertently brought me down to a more healthy and realistic level. One of my neighbors walking by had noticed a few dead wasps on my windowsill. One day, she approached me very concerned. She once had a lot of wasps in her apartment and was worried about me getting bitten or getting some disease that I don't remember the name of. I usually just walk by my window, not noticing what's inside. So the next time I checked, and sure enough, that's all there was: dust and three dead wasps and a couple of dead flies. Not a very welcoming sight. Through my silly pride, clinging to, oh, my windowsill is so bare, I must be a real renunciate, I had forgotten about those around me. I doubt seeing an abandoned-looking room with flies on the windowsill made any of my neighbors very happy. It might have even slightly depressed some. I've always been a little sad seeing derelict buildings and abandoned houses and stores. Maybe decorating it up a bit might make my neighbors happy, or at least not sad. Oh, hold on. I used to do a lot of crafts. When I owned a house, I decorated the walls of each room differently. The hallway had stripes, the study had stencils, decoupage in the living room, and splatter like Jackson Pollock in the bathroom. Before I also made lots of cards, pop-up ones, others using crayons, oil pastels. I even made lots of cards for Chungla Rinpoche of the 8 auspicious symbols. My favorite was the lotus. It was my way of showing devotion to him. I drew and colored all 8 auspicious symbols, but didn't know their significance. And now I will point out kindly how Tony kindly brought the 8 auspicious symbols here. So here we have, which looks like it's the umbrella, and this is the 2 golden fish. This is a vase, and this is the lotus. This is the conch shell. This is the endless knot. This is a banner, and this is a golden wheel. I also have a smaller piece of paper that I'll show when I discuss each. The 8 auspicious symbols were the actual gifts made to Shakyamuni Buddha immediately after he attained enlightenment: a parasol, 2 golden fishes, an endless knot, a wish-fulfilling treasure vase, a lotus flower, a conch shell, a victory banner, and a golden wheel. The endless knot, which is here, this one, is sometimes called the eternal knot or the glorious knot. For all you pure mathematicians out there, in mathematical knot theory, it is an example of a 7-4, as it has 7 crossings and 4 braids. Because the knot has no beginning and no end, the eternal knot symbolizes the endless wisdom and compassion of the Buddha. Those 2 qualities are combined, unified at the resultant state of Buddhahood. It is the sign of interdependence, of how everything in the universe is interconnected in one continuous connection, such as emptiness and dependent arisings, 2 sides of the same coin. It also indicates the relationship between an individual's spiritual path and the omnipresent presence of a Buddha and the movement of time. The 2 golden fish, which you'll see right here, represent fearlessness and freedom, and with those comes happiness. Fish have complete freedom in the water. Without resistance, they swim from happiness to happiness, without fear of being drowned in the oceans of suffering samsara. Put another way, they are a symbol of happiness since they are completely free in the water. And because there are 2 of them, they also represent fertility and abundance. The 2 fish are usually in the form of a carp, as they are regarded in the East as sacred, because of their elegance, their beauty, size, and lifespan. Yes, carp actually live anywhere between 20 and 50 years, some living up to 100, which is nothing compared to the Norwegian shark, which lives up to 300 years. Anyway, the beautiful, here we go for the lotus. This one's the lotus. The beautiful as well as scientifically remarkable lotus flower represents the primordial purity of body, speech, and mind, our Buddha nature within. Remarkable from a scientific standpoint, as not only does it create its own wax to keep its leaves clean, it also regulates its temperature of the flower to 86 to 95 degrees Fahrenheit, even if it's 50 degrees outside. Remarkable from a Buddhist perspective, as this beautiful flower grows above the swampy, muddy waters of our current existence, of hatred, clinging, attachment, delusion, pride, and jealousy. Each morning it reopens spotless and pure, unscathed by its muddy habitat, just like our Buddha qualities that reside within. It is also a symbol of renunciation and divinity. Sometimes you might also hear the body chakras being referred to as lotuses, each chakra having a different number of petals. The precious jeweled parasol, which is this one, represents protection from suffering, destructive emotions, illness, harm, and obstacles. It also signifies the many umbrellas, parasols, and canopies offered to the Buddha while he was alive by celestial beings and human kings, which the Buddha then blessed as a symbol of protection from the heat of suffering. The parasol with its silken cloth, golden pole, and jewel ornaments represents the various aspects of the Buddha's teachings, which give peaceful solace and protection for suffering, as well as all of life's obstacles. Through unfolding the parasol or umbrella, we feel the expansive quality of the protection that refuge gives us. So let it rain. And the next time you open up your umbrella, try to take the time to remind yourself of the protection the three jewels bring, or even if you just see it laying in the closet. It's good to link everyday objects to the Dharma. Then we will think of the Dharma more often and thereby create virtuous causes. Yogurt is another item that you could try to link with the Dharma. I tried this with my parents. It was one of the food, or very similar to what Lakshmi offered to Buddha after his 8 years of utmost austerity. The gift provided him enough strength to cultivate the middle way and attain enlightenment. And that's why it's one of the 8 auspicious substances. But back to the 8 auspicious symbols. The Wish Fulfilling Vas, which is this one here, represents the Buddha's infinite quality of teaching the Dharma, the inexhaustible treasure of vast and profound teachings. No matter how many teachings he shared, the treasure never lessened. This vase, continuously brings all desired things, such as long life, wealth, prosperity, which fulfills one's spiritual and material wishes. It also represents longevity, health, wealth, wisdom, prosperity, and space. The Dharma Chakra, or the Dharma Wheel, which is here, is one of the 32 major signs of a Buddha and appears embossed on the Buddha's feet. The Dharma Chakra is based on Hinduism's idea of universal monarchs, which are referred to as wheel-turning kings, enabling peace, to reign by destroying any enemies and ruling with kindness, such just by turning this miraculous wheel. Brahma is said to have offered this 1,000-spoke wheel to the Buddha in order to get him to teach. The Buddha blessed the wheel as an auspicious symbol and used it as a metaphor for his spiritual teachings. Sometimes it's called the wheel of law, as one of the Dharma's not so literal meanings is law, or the actual nature of things. On an individual basis, it also means a person's actual inner truth. In Chinese philosophy, it's called Tao, the code that goes along with the harmony of nature. The Dharma Chakra best represents the Buddha's ability to lead people to peace by teaching the truth. The last auspicious symbol is the Ever Flying Vic, the Ever Flying banner, which I'm guessing is this one here, which was originally based on banners used in warfare. The victory banner, in the Buddhist context, symbolizes how positive virtuous forces prevail over negative ones, and the inevitability of an enlightened being. It also represents the Buddha's victory over the 4 maras, or the 4 hindrances in the path to enlightenment. You will have to excuse me, but the 4 maras are my new favorite topic, so I will expand here. There are both literal and psychological interpretations of Mara. Mara can be interpreted either as a real external demon or as a negative qualities or internal vices that one faces on the path to enlightenment. Joseph Campbell describes the literal Mara, the one known for attacking the soon-to-be Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama, meditating under the Bodhi tree just prior to the Buddha's enlightenment. Mara used violent sensory pleasure and mockery in an attempt to prevent the Buddha from attaining enlightenment. This story came to be symbolized as the greatest battle between good and evil. Joseph Campbell then goes on to describe the events that took place when the Buddha gained enlightenment. Thus have I heard, the Exalted One came to the Bodh Gaya and meditated under a tree. The tree was in the center of the world, the axis mundi, it's called the immovable spot, because the Exalted One was about to enter the realm without fear and desire, the realm that transcends time and space, a realm that I, the ego, no longer exists, and duality vanishes. When Mara recognized that Siddhartha was on the verge of transcending his domain, the realm of fear and desire, samsara, he took immediate action to prevent this from happening. He first brought his 3 beautiful daughters, craving, aversion, and passion, to seduce Siddhartha. The Exalted One without desire remained in meditation. Mara himself appeared before Siddhartha, a Chakravartin, a world ruler, mounted on his elephant and accompanied by a large army, including monstrous demons wielding powerful and deadly weapons. They attacked Siddhartha, the Exalted One. Without fear, he sat and stayed unharmed. Mara claimed that according to the Dharma seat of enlightenment belongs to the greatest and only the greatest. Mara's soldiers cried out, "Mara is Chakravartin. He is the greatest. I am his witness." Mara challenged the Exalted One. Then and there, the Exalted One reached out with his right hand to touch the earth in what is called the Bhumi Sparsha Mudra, or Earth Witness Mudra, and the Mother Earth appeared. She wrung out the water in her hair the water which represented all the Buddha's good qualities that had been accumulated, and the water drowned all of Mara's army. She then said, "Blessed him who sits on the axis mundi, for one can only transcend time and space if one is immovable." Mara tried to push and pull Siddhartha away from the immovable spot, but there was nobody there. He then went ahead and sat on the spot, and lo and behold, there was somebody there. Mara was perplexed. The Earth Mother Goddess explained, "This is Sakyamuni, my beloved son, who through his 500 incarnations has also given himself that there is no more I. This is the Tathagata, a Buddha, who is not coming and not going. This is Sunyata, form is empty and empty is form. This is heaven, the world is non-duality. This is nirvana, the extinction of fear, and this is eternal peace." And as the morning star rose in the sky on the new day, Siddhartha gained enlightenment and received illumination. He became Buddha, the enlightened one. From a psychological perspective, Mara is the manifestation of one's own mind. No external demon exists since it emerges from our deluded thoughts. His attack on the Buddha represents internal impulses towards violence and rage that can be overcome by following the Buddha's teachings of cultivating compassion, detachment, and gentleness. The daughters of Mara represent lust and desire, which Buddha overcame by recognizing their nature as emptiness. Mara's own attack on the Buddha's pride was defeated by Buddha's denial of the self, since there was no I or ego left to feel pride. For the Dharma practitioner, Mara symbolizes our own ego clinging and our natural inclination to make the mundane seem alluring or the negative seem positive. Generally, there are 4 Maras or obstructions to practice of the Dharma: those of affliction, death, the aggregates, and the son of the gods. The Mara of the aggregates are contaminated aggregates, lead us to cling to forms, mental states, and perceptions as real. The Mara of afflictions is our addiction to habitual patterns of negative emotions. The Mara of death, or the Lord of death, is our fear to change, impermanence, and death. The son of the gods is our craving to pleasure, peace, and convenience. It interferes with our meditation by distraction, which increases desire. I like how Pema Chodron sums up the Maras. The force of Mara describes the natural obstacles and the nature of how human beings habitually lose confidence in our basic wisdoms. All the Maras point the way to being completely awake and alive by letting go, by letting ourselves die moment after moment and at the end of each out-breath. When we wake up, we can fully, without seeking pleasure and avoiding pain, without recreating ourselves when we fall apart. The problem is, due to our lack of confidence, on the in-breath, instead of letting go of ourselves, we want to get ourselves back, even our anger, resentment, fear, and bewilderment. So we recreate our solid, immovable personality as if we were Michelangelo chiseling ourselves out of marble. I have to skip a part because time is running short. No, I haven't. Oh, really? Oh, okay. It's my last talk for a while. How much time can I go over? Are people going to walk out if I go over? Okay. Although I tried many arts, I never tried sculpting of any kind, not like Michelangelo, whether it be clay or marble or metal. My only attempt at making 3D objects was origami. The art of paper folding. I really liked doing origami. It gave me that Zen feeling of being in the moment, fully engaged and focused on the job at hand. No wonder origami has been around for so long. Origami was invented in China shortly after the development of paper in the 2nd century. Monks brought the paper as well as the idea of folding it to Japan in the 6th century. Origami is still strong in the 21st century. It has even become a part of art therapy, helping people deal with trauma, practicing mindfulness, and even promoting sensory motor skills or frustration tolerance. It had been a while since I did origami, but I decided to make those traditional origami cranes and hang them in my window to liven up the place. I made 8 of them. They turned out pretty nicely. My neighbors and some of their visitors were very complimentary. One woman even asked me to teach her son how to do origami. He did very well and showed incredible patience for a 12-year-old. In time, I started to get attached to the cranes. I spent time checking that they were all hanging properly and that none of them had been damaged by winter's water condensation on the windows. I could feel that this silly obsession might grow and linger. The only remedy I could think of was mentally offering them to my neighbors. Mentally offering our belongings is often mentioned as the antidote for our attachment to things. And it worked. It made me feel more mentally free of them. It added some distance. I didn't want them to be destroyed, but I was no longer obsessed. Well, not as obsessed. Then my direct neighbor asked if she could paint them. I thought to myself, paint? No one paints origami. Instead, people use colorful paper with different patterns to make our origami. No paint is involved. But then I remembered I had given them all to my neighbors anyway. I couldn't have it both ways, being mentally free of them and then suddenly taking them back from my neighbors so I could have my own way. So off some of them went to be painted. My neighbor did a great job, painted each differently, brightly colored with bold designs. Now when she walks by, maybe she's extra happy seeing her creations. I also had made a few origami lilies and put these in a small cut glass bud vase on my windowsill, so it looked like the cranes were flying around it. I really like glass. I'm not a professional like TIBET Center member Bob, but I did try my hand at stained glass and once tried glass blowing. I had brought a bud vase to India as it was probably my most favorite object, or shall I say was. I remember Chungla Rinpoche once discussing how someone might look like they're unattached to things if they don't have much in their house, but they might just have just one thing that all of their attachment is focused on. Well, that was the closest kind of thing, besides, of course, my wallet and credit cards. Initially, I had put the glass bud vase on my shrine. It sounded like the most auspicious thing I could do, plus I could still enjoy looking at it. I quickly realized that wasn't going to work. So then I started to get obsessed with it. So I decided to move it to my window and offer it to my neighbors along with the lilies, and there it sat. It's funny how quickly I forgot about it, out of sight, out of mind, but that doesn't mean I wasn't still attached. One day I was making the bed and accidentally knocked it over. It broke into so many pieces that I was unable to glue it together. For a moment, my heart sank. Oh no, my favorite object is gone. But then I remembered it wasn't mine anymore. I had given it to my neighbors, and it was fine. I cleared up the pieces, and that was the end of it. Now, hold on. I have to skip one part. Today is the last talk in this series. I'm back off to India on Thursday, back to my studies. I want to thank you very much. I was going to talk about White Wednesday, which is a famous day in Dharamsala. Every day is called White Wednesday because it's His Holiness's day, because he was born on Wednesdays, and no Tibetan restaurants serve meat, and everyone has very nice Tibetan costumes and such. And I also wanted to say it included my respect for Rinpoche and other teachers because they're always so happy. But I'm sorry, my ending is a little funny now because I had to jump some parts. So thank you very much. And I look forward to seeing you. I look forward to coming back in the near future. And enjoy yourselves and always apply the Dharma.
Thank you.
Okay, so sorry for going over. Okay, so we have a couple of people. We have Liang's aunt, Liang Ping Wu, right? And Alexei, the person who I should know, Alexei Navalny. Okay, and that's it. Oh, Mrs. Wasnick. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Steve. And thank you, Leslie. I prostrate to the Omniscient One. Thus the Buddha Takada Arhat Samyak Sambuddha, the learned and virtuous one, the Sugata, the knower of the world, the charioteer and tamer of beings, the unsurpassable one, the teacher of devas and humans, is the Buddha Bhagavat. The Tathagata is in accord with all merit. He does not waste the roots of virtue, is completely ornamented with He is the basis of the treasures of merit. He is adorned with the minor marks. He blossoms with the flowers of the major marks. His activity is timely, immediate. Seeing him, he is without disharmony. He brings true joy to those along with faith. His knowledge cannot be overpowered. His strength cannot be challenged. He is the teacher of all sentient beings. He is the father of bodhisattvas. He is the king of noble ones. He is the guide to those who journey to the city of nirvana. He is wisdom. He possesses inconceivable confidence. His speech is completely pure. His melody is pleasing. One has enough of seeing him. His form is incomparable. He is not stained by the realm of Dharma. He is not stained by the realm of form. He is not affected by the formless realm. He is completely liberated from suffering. He is completely and utterly liberated from the skandhas. He is not possessed with dhatus. His ayatanas are controlled. He has completely cut the knots. He is completely liberated from extreme torment. He is liberated from craving. He has crossed over the river. He is perfected in all the wisdoms. He abides in the vision of the Buddha Bhagavats, who arise in the past, present, and future. He does not abide in nirvana. He abides in the ultimate perfection. He dwells on the bhumi where he sees all sentient beings. All these are the perfect virtues of the greatness of the Buddha Bhagavat. The holy Dharma is good in the beginning, good in the middle, and good at the end. Its meaning is excellent. Its words are excellent. It is uncorrupted. It is completely perfect and completely pure. It completely purifies. The Bhagavat teaches the Dharma well. It brings complete vision. It is free from sickness. It is always timely. It directs one further. Seeing it fulfills one's purpose. It brings discriminating insight for the wise. The Dharma, which is taught by the Bhagavat, is revealed properly in the Vinaya. It is renunciation. It causes one to arrive at perfect enlightenment. It is without contradiction. It is pithy, it is trustworthy, and puts an end to the journey. As for the Sangha of the great Yana, they enter completely. They enter insightfully. They enter straightforwardly. They enter harmoniously. They are worthy of veneration and join palms. They are worthy of receiving prostration. They are a field of glorious merit. They are completely capable of receiving all gifts. They are an object of generosity. They are a great object of complete generosity. The practitioner who possesses all kindness, the omniscient teacher, the basis of oceans of merit and virtue, I prostrate to the Tathagata. Pure, the cause of freedom from passion, virtuous, liberating from the lower realms. This alone is the supreme ultimate truth. I prostrate to the Dharma, which is peace. Having liberated, they show the path to liberation. They are fully dedicated to the disciplines. They are holy field of possess virtue. I prostrate to the Sangha. I prostrate to the Buddha, the leader. I prostrate to the Dharma, the protector. I prostrate to the Sangha, the community. And I prostrate always to these three. The Buddha's virtues are inconceivable. The Dharma's virtues are inconceivable. The Sangha's virtues are inconceivable. Having faith in these inconceivables, the truth is inconceivable. May they be born and create here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me and sending waves of love to all of you.
Thank you.
When are you leaving to India?